Can we see it? Yes, we can. Okay, let me just announce this on Twitter to blah 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 blah. This is issue. Here's the issue. Time to fix spam. Okie dokie, where am I? Three, 2, 6, 4. 3, 2, 6, 4. Idle time seems to count towards timeout. Configured in curl up timeout. And yes, it does. And it shouldn't. I need a editor, and then we have the Emacs. I need to figure out how to handle the timeout. I think maybe document the timeout behavior differently. Let me see. So the problem is that the timeout is sort of global for the entire transfer, including the disconnect procedure, which really isn't what you'd expect. You would expect that the disconnect procedure is outside the timeout, but on the other hand, you don't want it to be exactly unbound either, because it might get stuck somewhere. So some sort of timeout has to be there, but it shouldn't use the same start point and the same timeout value as the regular timeout. That there is a I'm going to use this other timeout. I think there's a response. Oh. There's a response timeout that I want to use. So if I set the response timeout for the disconnect procedure, even if it wasn't set before, that should be fine. And then some coffee. Cheers. Okay. The question is if I can write up an example that reproduces this. Of course, I should be able to do that. Maybe I should just start with that. It's going to be annoying to have a test case in the test suite. It takes a long time just to time out properly, but maybe I should at least do an example that reproduces it against a live server somewhere. Do we have a live server? FTP Funet is still there, right? Yep, we can use that one, I think. So let's do a ish 3264.c. I'm going to import an example that I already have somewhere. FTP get basic example. Let's cut out some comments. Just doesn't matter. It's okay. This gets a file from an FTP server. FTP.com. No. We're going to use funet.fi. And maybe I should figure out if there's a file we can actually get from there. Beep, FTP anonymous ls/pub. /pub. I wonder if it has curl. Who knows? You can just go into Linux. Is there a readme or something? Let's install pub linux install. We'll get that one. Add to copyright. Okay, sure. And then we do the perform, and here we're going to do a long sleep for 10 seconds, not doing anything before we clean up. And we don't do a timeout here for like 5 seconds, which is far more than enough. So we do the timeout on the transfer, which shouldn't trigger at all. It does the perform, it waits 10 seconds, and then it does the cleanup. And the bug here is then that the timeout is still done for 5 seconds with the same starting time as before. So when we do the cleanup, it'll immediately time out the disconnect procedure. And the disconnect procedure in the FTP case, of course, is to send the quit command. So in this case, it'll just skip to send the quit command because it's already timed out. So that's what we are going to address here. So let's see if this reproduces this case that easily. Wait, sorry, beep. So I have a setup that I usually do. It's actually, this is my normal curl development tree, as you can see. Source curl on my machine, it's in the master branch, so it's on the latest Git. I have an alias that actually updates. I can see that, yep, I'm on the latest master branch. Everything is built, and then I have another make file that builds my. I'm going to make sure that my 3264 example is called debugit as well, because my make file in there uses it implicit declaration of function sleep. Well, right, where is that? Sleep, sorry, it's number 3, right? It's in that header file, so I can just fix the warning. So okay, the example builds. Let's see how it runs. Has some other silly include paths, but that's fine. Just a little example. So it did the transfer, it waits. Should wait for 10 seconds. And what happens then? Curl told us 78. I can only retrieve regular files, so it doesn't work at all. So and yeah, now I remember, we won't see the quit because the quit won't. Okay, I can. quit is not seen because it's not done with that same easy handle anymore. The quit, when we clean up the handle, no, sorry, we keep the connection cache in this handle. So where does it call? Maybe I should just do like this instead. GDB, and we can set breakpoint and FTP disconnect. Wait 10 seconds. Maybe I should lower that timeout to reduce the waiting time, and bam. It's not a dead connection. Ignore errors on the quit. We send quit. Result is okay. Was change state, and we go here and bam bam. State machine. I think it'll there it is. Timeout. Timeout MS. Negative. So yes, it should. There it is. Server response. All ready to. And I guess that is operation. It's number 28. All right, we ignore that error code, I think, somewhere. Right. It ignores the error code, so it ignores errors on the quit. So it doesn't do anything, doesn't wait for the quit, blah blah blah, or doesn't even. Okay. Lower the sleep, lower the timeout to 2 seconds. This is fast. Sleep 3 seconds. Then we can go to FTP disconnect. This is actually a bug for all the what I call the ping pong protocol. So that's FTP, IMAP, SMTP, and the fourth. What did I say? FTP, SMTP, IMAP, and POP3. So all these are using the ping pong file, ping pong, and they're using this function to figure out if it has timed out or not already. And that is not aware of a disconnect state. Maybe I should make it disconnect aware globally, and then I can do a different timeout logic for the disconnect. So the timeout is set like this. This is set in that's the easy handle. That's the value that the code sets with this that line. Curl up timeout equals setting that internal field. So if timeout is requested, blah blah blah. Here it is. But it uses another. We have two different timeouts for the ping pong protocols. It actually has this server response timeout. So if you can actually set an individual timeout. So just wait this long for any server to respond. For the server to respond before we time out. So maybe I think I should change this so we have a server response timeout always at least when we disconnect. Maybe I should set a default server response timeout. Maybe that will cause problems. So maybe I shouldn't really go there just yet, but I can certainly make it a default while in the disconnect state and clear the global timeout setting when disconnecting. But then this is a set only variable here. I can't change that. I need to make sure that I make a copy of this so that I have something to change, that I'm allowed to change. Yeah, this is only used once in this file, so that should be fine. I think we have a pre-transfer function. Pre-transfer is called immediately before a transfer starts and only once for one transfer. So, yeah, I think that is fine. In this, in pre-transfer, hello, where did I go? Pre-transfer. I can make another state for timeout for the FTP case. Or should I? And it's not only FTP, that's what complicates it a little bit. Ping pong. Response time. Response timeout. Oh, look at that. I actually have a default response timeout if no other is set, and that's a very long time. That's in milliseconds, so that's 1800 seconds, which that's half an hour. Yeah, that's that's a long time out. That's pretty silly, actually. I should reduce it a lot. Maybe I should do it in 2 different steps. So let's make it state aware somehow. I'm going to make this state timeout. State timeout, and it's going to be disconnect thing. And not disconnecting if timeout is requested. That is what we'll do. But that, of course, let's see. State timeout. We need a bool disconnecting in the prototype. And then we'll see just how many build failures we get with that. Like 2. We have a done function and we have a send quote. None of them are done. During this connect there maybe, no. Okay, so yeah, let me say that someone said I'm the Emacs wizard, but yeah, I've been using Emacs for Emacs or Emacs for quite a number of years. That's my home Emacs, home editor environment. So the yep, I'm fast at some operations with it. So let's see. This isn't. We know that this is never used in the disconnect state. So let's go back to this. We always know that in this case it's false. Oh, timeout in milliseconds. We don't need that silly comment. And this one, here it is. This has to know disconnect state because this is bool block. Right. So this also needs to know if we're in disconnecting state. Disconnecting. So this is used on several places. Let's fix the prototype first. That's also bool disconnecting. And then we get some build errors because now we're not using that correctly everywhere. So multi-state machine, wait, state, do more. And we have a quit, I think. There it is. Block state machine. It's only used from. Maybe I should just move that into the quit function and make it more obvious. I should. Let's do that. Just make sure this isn't causing any major surprises, so we don't have any block state machine, because blocking state machine is silly here. This is really not what we need. And sometimes I'm taking a little pause here and look at the other screen because there's a chat going on too here on the, on the Twitch stream. So I just wanted to keep up with that. And then I have this IRC chat up too. So if you're on the IRC curl channel, I could you can chat with me there too. So there's a chat in Twitch and there's a chat on IRC, and now I'm moving this function entirely to the here. Basically doing this. Am I? No, let's not do that, by the way. I'm having second thoughts. I'm going back. So block state machine. This is always disconnecting, true disconnecting. This is always the case. But is it? Oh, right. And then we have basically in all the other IMAP disconnect. And it has a block state machine. You're right, they have their own versions of this. And that is blocking. No, that's disconnecting. No, block. It used on two places. bool disconnecting, and no, sorry, and pass it in because it's used in 2 places. We can't have it like that, so we have to do it false, not disconnecting there. This is the, what function is this? IMAP done. Done is not disconnecting. IMAP disconnect is. This is true. Okay, now I'm changing all over, so maybe I need to keep track of stuff. Too few arguments. Yes, because this is the okay, this function is this used. This is used in connect and everywhere, and do more. Do more. And perform, doing. Okay, it's never used in the disconnect state, so it's always false. POP3 multi-state machine, when this is not disconnect, this is not disconnect, this is not disconnect. This is never used in disconnect state either. So we do it false. And this is tedious, but I figure I need to do this. So IMAP multi-state machine. I think it's sort of a copy from the other one. It's not used from the disconnect state either. So false. SMTP. I'm betting on false right now. Oops. Messed up. No, I didn't. Too few arguments. Okay. This has disconnecting as argument. And is this used from the disconnect? No. There. That's the disconnect. True. Bool disconnecting. Disconnecting. Then that false, not disconnecting. Okay, this turned out to be a bit of a okay, disconnecting. POP3 block state machine. Bool disconnecting. Can understand if you're watching this, you're not following, but it doesn't matter. I think you get the gist of what I'm doing. I'm just adding the state disconnecting in several functions so that the generic ping pong functions know if we're about to disconnect or not, and if we're in the disconnecting state, we ignore the regular timeout value basically. And now it built, and maybe I'll just make sure that we can still build the curl tool so that I didn't mess up some symbols somewhere. Yep, it does, and we've fixed that many things, and we have 30 insertions, 24 deletions, 6 files changed. This is how the git diff looks like. Basically, we added an argument to a bunch of functions that says if we're disconnecting or not. And let's see. We can go back. First, make sure that it builds, and we go back, and I build my debug example here in the debug directory. We rebuild my little tool here. I go back to the, that's the, here is the, that's the code function I want to. But okay, I'm going to run my test program, and I'm going to set a breakpoint in FTP disconnect. It should stop there, and I'm going to set a breakpoint there, and I'm continuing. Pip, disconnecting. It says true, which is what I wanted. And bam, response time, a long timeout, timeout ms. So it didn't time out now. That's what I wanted. But okay, this is basically what I was intending to do. I think it turned out nicer than I started out believing. Okay, so I'm doing a branch here now for what should I call the branch? Ping pong disconnect without timeout. It's not super important what the branch is called. So this is ping pong ignore regular timeout on disconnect in disconnect phase. The timeout set with curl opt timeout is no longer used when disconnecting from one of the ping pong protocols. Well, maybe I should spell them out. Ping pong is sort of my own term for it, so it might not be globally understood, which the question is if I need to update the documentation. Pass along to allow the libcurl transfer operation to take. Yeah, it says transfer operation, so I think this is actually making sure that we're following the documentation better. And yeah, I think so. And okay, there's one commit, and I should mention that it fixes 3264. And it was reported by. I always try to make sure that I credit all the reporters properly on GitHub. And if they don't provide full name, I enter their GitHub account name. And then I actually have a script later on that will figure out from these. It'll extract the names from these lines from the Git logs and use those names and populate the release notes. And then from that they will trickle down into the thanks file eventually. Okay, so now, and then I want to get back to this silly default response timeout. Symbian OS panics when given a timeout much greater than half an hour. Yeah, but why would we ever want a user to wait half an hour for a response to one of these commands before it times out? I think it would be much more sensible to wait what is a sensible timeout to wait for an FTP or SFTP or a IMAP or POP3 command? If we would use 300, that would be 5 minutes. That's also excessive. But if you're on a really, okay, 2 minutes. Yeah, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Okay. I want 2 minutes. Let's see where we use this so that I'm not doing something stupid. FTP, IMAP, POP3 SMTP, exactly the ping. Set default response timeout. Yep. So yeah, 2 minutes. I'm going to propose we changed ping pong changed Jesus, my typing is worse than ever, and I'm out of coffee, or at least the coffee has gone stale and cold, so it's really terrible. It was bad service in this office. Nobody's around to provide a refill. So change default response timeout to 120 seconds. The Jesus. Previously it was 1030 minutes. I can't spell. Okay, maybe that is what we need, right? I could just make sure that I didn't break any of these our regular tests, but our regular tests don't really take a long time, because that's crazy annoying to have regular tests that just, you know, checks timeouts that are slow and annoying. So I'm going to ask user Jazal to help me verify this once it looks fine. So I'm just rebuilding the test suite here locally. I'm always fiddling with too many files, so I always have to rebuild a lot of files. And the test suite is growing and growing, so it grows larger, and then I can run just FTP tests, for example. So I'm just going to make sure that locally a fair number of FTP tests still do good and fine, and they seem to be doing fine. There we can see the FTP tests in the test suite run on my local machine. The number here is actually the 1209 is actually not necessarily the total number of FTP tests. I think it is just the total number it will still evaluate if it is a valid test to run or not. So it might complete a little sooner, but seems to be good. I didn't break it too bad anyway. And when I submit a pull request, it'll run all tests on a lot of platforms anyway before we merge it, so it should be rather safe. Well, I don't know how you could even remove a subscribe button from Twitch or not. I have no idea really. Okay, now I'm just poking on Twitch because So someone said that the subscribe button on the Twitch page is missing. So I'm trying to figure out what I can do about that, but I really can't understand that I could even do anything that hides that or doesn't show it somehow. But apparently, I mean, edit appearance, hide chat, pop up, mod, blah blah, slow mode. Okay, so I'm going to leave. The annoying part of the test video is that the remaining time from the test is been growing and not shrinking. Yeah, I guess that's because it's my lame code that just estimates the remaining time based on the time it has used so far, and some of the tests are slower and faster, so it really doesn't know. Okay. Yeah. Running tests in parallel or in a cloud somewhere, it is sort of useful, but I think the most useful thing is when we do pull requests, and all those pull requests are running in parallel anyway. So then it's not as important, and then we run those different tests in different instances, so they actually run in parallel to some extent already when we do pull requests. Let me do a pull request now then, so you can see how it looks like from my point of view. I'll just assume that these FTP tests are fine. I mean, they are all going to run like 45 times in the pull request anyway. So here are the commits. There are 2 commits in my branch. So okay, there, and I'm pushing them to Git like this, or and I push to my remote branch, bam, and then they will appear on GitHub. Flip, I can actually use that link if I want to, but I can also just click on GitHub, and it suggests I make a pull request, and here I make a pull request. Ping pong disconnect without timeout. Let's do it like this. I'm just going to set some fun flags. Why did I add a new line there? Okay, before I make a pull request, I'm going to remove the new line. That was, I don't like superfluous new lines. Where did it go? There it is. In the get FTP response function. update. There it is. That's new line removed. But now I need to fix up. So I need to put that in the right commit. And now there's no new line. And now I'm going to force push again on that branch. So I fixed the commit, and now I forced the push, and I'm back to the commit. I wonder if I'll just refresh. I don't know. Oh, sorry. I forced pushed, so it should be fine. Ping pong disconnect without timeout. Blah blah blah. There's basically just a bunch of these disconnecting args to a lot of functions. Yep, and the second commit changed that drastically. So yeah, it looks good, I think. I'm going to set these labels again just to show everyone what it is I'm fiddling with. And I'm ready to boom. So now it creates the pull request, and you will now see, talking about parallel tests then, since all these tests here showing up on GitHub, they are all running in parallel now then. So each line here is in parallel, but the big ones are the Travis tests and the AppVeyor tests, and the AppVeyor, especially the Travis one, because the Travis one, if we look at the Travis one, we can go to the Travis. I clicked the wrong one. This is the AppVeyor one, so we can see that we have 8 builds, and they run sort of in parallel, not a massive amount in parallel, but they run a bunch of them in parallel, and some of them do tests, some not. So we go to back, and if we check the Travis one here, and Travis has a lot more. Let me make it smaller. I have 2 screens, and the other one is 4K and this is a 2K, so I'm changing the resolution back and forth a bit. So okay, here we can see all the builds in Travis, and here we can see that it started 4 builds in parallel, and they build and test everything. Well, not everything in all of them, but and now we have 5 in parallel. So they will do stuff in parallel. Yeah, I fix the copyright lines automatically, or I don't, but I have an Emacs hook that actually notices if I save a file with the wrong copyright year somewhere. It'll ask me, prompt me, do I want it updated or not? And it's actually what it's called, copyrights something. So I have in my Emacs file, which is fairly complicated, I had this add hook. This is the only line I need to make Emacs prompt me when I try to save a file with without having the right copyright year and copyright range in the file. Of course, when I apply patches and stuff, Emacs won't notice. But nowadays we have a check source check. So actually Travis will also verify that modified files have the correct copyright range. This is an annoying Travis habit of getting apt-get installed failed, which of course isn't our fault, so I'll just restart this job. Bam, go back, start again. I can usually tell if the Travis build ends like within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, we know that it failed. One of these builds typically take 40 minutes, I think. So as you can see, we have 27 Travis builds. They're not all the same. Some of them are, this check is slightly faster. Some of them are really slow. Coverage is probably the slowest. And tidy and sanitize builds are slow too. So these ones usually spend around 10 or 12 CPU hours on building and testing, and it takes a while for them, even clock wise, I mean wall clock time. So these ones won't be ready for a few hours. So usually I just fire off these pull request, and it'll now sit here, and yeah, some of these builds already completed. This is no interesting static code analyze for Python code, and that's basically no code at all in our repository. We have imported a little test server in Python, that's all, so we don't really care, but yeah. So that's how it looks like. Now it'll sit there for a long time. I'm going to come back to this pull request in later today to see how it fares. What I'm fuzzing with, actually fuzzing, okay, I have the fuzzing thing. This is a fuzzer target in Travis, and the Travis fuzzing that's our own fuzzing, the fuzzer target in this is the curl fuzzing thing, so it uses our own little fuzzer, which is using, I don't remember exactly, with libfuzzer and stuff, but it's not a very complicated fuzzing. It's rather rudimentary, but it catches some problems. We use it primarily to make sure that we didn't screw anything, any major problems right now. The big fuzzing is always done with the OSS Fuzz project, which fuzzes curl non-stop all the time, all around. So in the OSS Fuzz project, I'm not sure I'm going to show you because I'm not sure. It actually I think I have some confidential bugs in there. I'm not sure. Let me switch around a little bit. Well, we can just, here's one of the bugs. This is an older one. So here's an old from September 2017, and here's so this is the OSS Fuzz project. It fuzzes everything well, not everything. We have a little adaptation for the OSS Fuzz project, so it knows how to fuzz our APIs decently, and it continues to do that. So it checks out our code, the latest code, and just keeps on hammering on it all the time. And it's really good at figuring out bugs every now and then, even if it's been a while now since it actually found a problem. But yeah, then it ends up like this, and we discuss it, and so after they automatically open bugs after 30 days. So this particular bug then is open. If you see this URL, it's not easy for you, of course, to see and use this URL, but so this is the primary fuzzing project that fuzzes curl. So we don't have to do a lot of fuzzing ourselves, other than, I mean, we wrote the adaptation for OSS Fuzz, so it's actually, we of course made sure it happened, and it happens this good. But then this project is keeping us honest, so they keep hammering on this, and it reports back when we do something stupid. It actually still happens occasionally. If if we do something really bad and it isn't noted in our test suites, this one typically helps us to notice at least some of the bugs. I mean, the ones you find with fuzzing. And it's usually stupid things. Usually they are just memory leaks, but there are also things like this particular example that I'm looking at, which is a null dereference in fwrite. This was never, I don't think we considered this a security problem, so I think we just fixed this. Right. So we can just, I created this pull request based on that fuzzing report, blah blah blah, and then the patch looked like this. Right, it would call a null function pointer for some specific setup that doesn't really happen that often in the real world, I think. So that was a while ago. September 2017, well, a little over a year ago. I think the OSS fuzzing project started for real with curl in 2017. So 2017 and early 2018, we found and fixed a lot of issues that OSS Fuzz found for us. It's actually been really helpful, and OSS Fuzz, I think, is credited for around 6 security problems that we fixed in curl, and maybe 40 bugs in total. So it's been really helpful. It's a good project. It helps us a lot. So yeah, here are the Travis jobs. They keep on. See, they've been running now for soon 10 minutes. They are going to go on for a while longer. Other builds, well, some of the other build bots are running, completed. Looking good. So this turned out to be actually slightly easier than I had anticipated. So this was 3264, wasn't it? 3264. I made sure that the timeout. No, the Project Zero people are Project Zero is some internal Google project, I believe. I'm not actually that familiar with the Project Zero other than what I've read in the media and so on, but the OSS Fuzz project is a fuzzing effort to fuzz critical infrastructure projects, and they've been gracious enough to consider curl as critical infrastructure, so they adopted and fuzzed. They actually started fuzzing curl by themselves and have reported bugs. And then Max Diamond in the curl project actually spent time, and he got a reward from Google for that too, and made a good adaptation for. If you can actually, if you go to this in the curl organization, we have this curl fuzzer project, and here are what we are using to fuzz. This is the OSS Fuzz adaptation. So if you clone the curl fuzzer repository and you follow the README and you install everything, then you can actually build and fuzz everything as the OSS Fuzz does it. And this is what I do typically too when they report one of these problems. Where is it? They tend to give a pretty good reproducible example on this is how you reproduce the crash or memory leak or whatever, and then it's really good to have this repository. Well, not the the curl fuzzer repository to build that to reproduce the case that OSS Fuzz found. It's actually pretty good. Debugging with fuzzing crashes is usually interesting because fuzzing is such a, well, since it's about throwing rubbish on your APIs, figuring out exactly what curl does with that rubbish can be interesting. But OSS Fuzz is really good at minimizing the reproducible examples, so usually we get a very small binary file with, less than 100 bytes. Just throw this as input, run this function, and we set a breakpoint in the report, in the error reporting function basically, and bam, there it is, and we can just basically get a stack trace and figure out what went wrong in the stack and then figure it out. It could actually be interesting to live stream fixing an OSS Fuzz problem too, but as I said, we haven't had an OSS Fuzz report in months, I believe. So I don't have one of those right now. Actually, right now I don't have much really serious bug reports. As you can see, we have 49 open ones. A lot of them are needs info or help wanted. So they're not really the ones that I can work on right now. Some of them are also on. We can, for example, check my accept setting max TLS with default min TLS patch. This is one I posted yesterday, or I pushed it yesterday. And sometimes AppWeir builds are really annoying. And here we can see the Travis ones completed, and the Travis ones are usually the most interesting ones since there are so many. There are 27 of them. And here we can see complete build set, and we can see some of them take, well, this 44 minutes, 47 minutes. And some of them down to 5 minutes. 3 minutes even. Yeah, I think that only verifies that it actually can build everything with the default CMake, which is a fine check. And that one is similar, but with Clang instead of GCC on Linux. Anyway, so I'm here, and this is a pull request I made yesterday. I force pushed it 19 hours ago, and it's still running AppWeir builds. That's lovely. And AppWeir says green, 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 waiting 10 hours. Slightly annoying, but I usually also consider this fine. So in this case, I'm going to consider it fine, and I'm going to merge this patch. So then back to, here's my development tree again. Here's the root directory, source curl, master branch. This is my username, and this is Storebror is the name of my machine, means big brother in Swedish. So I can check out the branch that I submitted there, max TLS. I'll just rebase it to make sure that I have it on. Oh right, I updated the GitHub keywords. And I'm a master of typos in my commit messages, but I think I've avoided them this time. So we have there, and as you can see, I do merge them manually, and I basically never use those buttons here that I can use in GitHub because I want to make sure that everything looks fine, and I usually polish the commit request and everything, and now I rebased it, for example, and so on. So it's usually more convenient for me to just do it here. And now I merged it to my master. This is the one, and now I can push it to my master branch. And when I've done that, I can remove my local branch, and this one is going to update and say that there, closed with unmerged commits, because I rebased and edited it on locally before I did it. So I'm just deleting it. And there it's done. Pull request closed, and now we're down to 29 pull requests left. And it notified me on IRC. Well, it did previously too. So, and there you can see the IRC chat. And so this is this lovely inception, basically, when we can chat about the other chat in the other chat. Are you a Vim ZZ quitter? Yeah, right. Vim. Are you kidding me? I've been an Emacs guy since 1991. Basically daily since 1991 or so. So, no, I'm sticking to Emacs. And I'm removing the menu bar because it's useless. So, there it is. Okay. So, should I just grab another bug? Maybe I should. Bing. Which one is the most important one that I want to work on right now? I'm not a Windows guy, so the Windows things I leave to the others, at least until I get more input so that I can guess how to fix them and how to work on them. And there are a lot of those. I'll go back to the one I just worked on and say I made sure that the timeout is not used anymore when in this. No, Windows TFO is a recent thing. Even needs recent Windows 10. TFO, TCP fast open. So yeah, someone noticed that we have a patch for it. So yeah, it is very recently provided in Windows. So we need some runtime check that it's there. I made sure that the timeout is not used anymore when in this connect phase. Please have a go and see if doesn't show the pull request number. 3374. The problem for you. So yeah, okay, we can talk about TCP fast open. TCP fast open exists in Windows. We actually support it for Linux and Mac. And for Linux, there are two different APIs, depending on which kernel version you're using. But for Windows, they provide support for it since a while back, and we have this. It requires Windows 10 version 1607 or newer. So here's a patch, and there's a long discussion here with people about how to do it properly. And I'm not, as I said, I'm not a Windows guy. I'm not sure exactly right now how the correct checks should be done. So I'm following the discussion to see that it gets done, because it sounds like a fun thing. TCP fast open is a sort of I shouldn't say a pit, but it's TCP fast open is problematic since it's not universally available, and then I don't mean in the client or in the server, but there are a lot of problems with TCP fast open across internet in general. I worked at Mozilla. I quit for the Firefox development team just days ago, actually earlier this week. But so we tried for a long time to enable TCP fast open by default in Firefox. Actually, I think the effort's been going on basically since Windows started supporting it. So a lot of efforts, basically a year of trying on and off and different workarounds, and the results there is basically that it fails so often and is so problematic to support widely for everyone that Firefox has not enabled it and will not enable it for normal users. And I mean the downside then is that if you use TCP fast open and it fails, it is usually the case that there's some equipment somewhere in between you and the server that throws away some of the TCP packets. So it ends up either it just takes forever until you get the connect, or you get some other sort of broken behavior. So the end result then is the complete opposite of what TCP fast open is supposed to do, since it's supposed to be a fast open, but in many cases then it actually becomes a much slower open. And it also turned out that it actually didn't work and was used in very many setups. So I think it was used in like X% of the connections, which sub 10%. And out of the cases where it was used, it actually delayed the TCP handshake in, I think, a third or a fourth of the cases. So it turned out to be TFO will not be used by Firefox right now, at least, or when I talked about with the team the last point in time, and it has been disabled. It is disabled in all builds on all platforms for Firefox. So I'm going to return a lot of my machines to Mozilla, or at least they emailed me this week about doing that. I was a bit surprised that they waited until actually my very last day as employee to do that. And I have in use at least 3 machines, and I have 2 other machines that they want back. Interesting, but one of the machines I already returned, so they wanted one of my already returned machines back again. So I'm not sure how well they keep track of things. And one of the other machines is a broken one, so I have 3 actually live machines that I'm supposed to send back. I've asked them about buying for them to just avoid having to replace them, and avoid me having to send them, to have them store them somewhere in a storage facility somewhere in California where nobody will use them or want them. And I in particular, I enjoy the fact that my laptops, I have 2 laptops, and both of them are having this Swedish key layout on the keyboards. So I'm guessing that not a lot of other users will enjoy having them, and I'm not sure. I'm sure you can replace the keyboards on these keyboards. They're Lenovo keyboards, but still, I figured I've used them for a while. They're not new anymore, and I've installed them. I've sort of gotten familiar with them. So if they're happy with not too much money, I can just buy them straight off Mozilla instead of having to bother about sending them across half the world and probably end up not being used by anyone anyway. I had a lot of emails, but okay. I better not check those bug emails right now on video. Where was I? Here. So, do you have any favorite bugs I should fix? Any bug? Feel free to nominate one. We are 20 viewers right now. Pretty good. I think I've never had that many before. Not that I've been doing this a lot. So let's go back to the bug report list here. Or maybe, okay, let's check out the pull request. I think this one might be ripe for merging. So maybe I should do that here. Live merge of pull request. This is a pretty neat pull request. I'm going to merge it into a branch and just do some manual checks. I have a lot of branches. Looking good there. I should clean up some branches, but let's not do that now. I'm going to merge this branch into my own local branch, and I'm going to use exactly. So I created this branch based on my master, and I'm pulling his branch into my right, and it needs to merge it, but I can always just rebase it and see that it works fine, and it does. Good, because I don't want any merge commits. I want it fast forward. And there we can see some trailing white space, but that's fine. So is this just one commit? It's one commit, 600 lines. But 600 lines, that's also so we can see it has updating the documentation, adding documentation, and added tests for the new option, and this added support for testing the option in that test too. And I updated the test server too to make sure that the trailer function option works. It's actually pretty neat. So well, my primary reason for using fast forward instead of merge commits is just that I enjoy the clean linear history it produces. And really the project is such a small one, and we don't need any complicated branches and merges sort of strings in history. So I enjoy having a linear history. It makes things like bisecting easier, and I think it's easier to understand the history, but just a small preference. It's not an important distinction. So I'm going to go ahead and merge this, and then I'm going to do another thing as well. I'm going to make sure I'm going to clean up the release notes file. After I did a release this Wednesday, right? It's Friday now, so it's been a little bit over 48 hours since I did the release, and this is how it looks like. And it still contains everything from the previous release, and I'm going to update that. But let's do it like this. I'm going to merge this. Wait, let me do it. Check out this one, and it actually closes 3350, which is this one. And it's made by him, Ayub Budar. And he has an email address, and implement trailing headers for chunked transfers. Right, this is for sending trailing headers with chunk transfers. Maybe is that clear enough? I think so. I'll just read trailer function. Set callback for sending trailing headers. Okay, let's do this. And here I merge it. Boom. Git push. There it is. Okay, so now I'm going to remove my branch again. I'm going to say thanks. There. The red thing in the diff. Did I? Yeah, but the white space issue, right? Yeah. It was actually so. Git show check. Does it show that? I need to. Oh, right. It adds that. Huh. That was a lot of them. Okay. Okay, I'll do that. It's better to be. I'm a bit sloppy, but okay. It's fine. You can get to see me being sloppy. Trailer data. And I can do delete trailing workspace in Emacs. But you know all those git commands, I don't. But I can clean up some other things in the man pages when here anyway, like adding a lot of extra. Trailer data. And now I have a lovely trying to do the changes and I have two chats going on commenting what I'm doing in the, yeah. But okay, that's fun. I'm going to ignore some of you. Just, I'll remove some new lines from the man page, and I can use delete trailing white space in Emacs. And right, and I can I think I could use, since we're using 2 space indents everywhere in curl, it seems weird to use 4 in an example, so I can fix that as well and just make it not use as many typecasts and stuff. There, this was added and ba 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 ba. Yep. Nice. Okay. I'm not sure about the tests file, right? They can actually be valid, but let me see. Oh yes, those are the test files are funny, but they support these, so you can do these CRLF new lines, so they're actually so it's actually not, I mean, so Git will say trailing white space, but in these instances they're fine in the test files, but not there, I think. Okay, maybe that. Yeah, do I have some git ignore? All right, no, git attributes. It's good to have a git person around to tell me what's wrong with my git usage, because it's not always up the best. Well, I don't think the problem is the technology behind the Twitch chat is not what causes my slight confusion. It's rather the problem that I now have 2 chat windows up that is both going on and talking about the same things, basically. So people are chatting in the Twitch chat about my Emacs command lines, and people in the curl chat are as well. It's not a big deal. No, I actually enjoy this quite a lot. It's fun when there's a lot of things going on. Okay. Of course I can't do it like that, but I think I'm good now. Get diff checked. So that would be like this, but I guess it would still be fine since I know it. So where was I? Yeah, right, I merged that thing. I have the cleanup commit. I haven't pushed it, but okay. Now I'm going to fix that one. So I did a release 2 days ago. Here it is. It's here. And this is what we've done since. The next release will be 7.64.0. It's going to be release number 179. There's going to be changes. Well, we already merged one, so I know about one. And then I can remove the... I do this. I sync the release notes file, as I call it, sort of update it once in a while, maybe once a week or so. Like this. And then I do so port fix parsing of end of line colon. That's the first bug fix, and it landed in 3365. So this is basically how I proceed. And I fixed that description. That was really silly, completely wrong description. And it's been around for a while too. I don't understand how we didn't see that bug. It's in 3368. Well, my fixes. Cookies. Leave secure cookies alone. I guess that is a change. And not really a bug fix. It's basically makes sure that cookies that sets the secure property requires HTTPS and vice versa, and you can't override that from a connection that isn't using HTTPS. And we did this fun thing. So I want to change to the... When I added a URL parsing in URI back in 7.62.0, as I mentioned, if you've seen the release notes or my video about the release, I introduced a whole slew of fun regressions, and one of the regressions was actually in the Gopher handling. And one of the problems with the Gopher regression was that we no longer could differentiate between a URL that ends with a question mark or not, so that when there's a empty query part. Well, that's the same bug group, which was interesting, but that's fixed now. Now we can do that. fixed memory leak, blah blah blah. And this is the one I merged while streaming. You saw that if you paid attention. So that's number 6, and that's 3367. I have these links. They're all just redirects, just to make it easier for me to use shorter links. And if we for some reason would just use another provider or show the bugs in a different way at some point, it will be easier to just change that. Since I own the site, I can change those redirects rather than pointing out to GitHub directly. Darwin SSL. HTTP implement headers for giant transfers. Number 7. Okay, so we have 2 changes and 6 bug fixes so far. And now I'm going to show you my fancy little script here. So when I've done that, I can run scripts contributors from a tag, which happens to be the tag I set like 50 hours ago. Bam, these are the contributors since then. And I know this since they are either authors or committers of Git commits, or they are referenced in Git commit messages with these by:" syntax that we are using, like this one. So the script will figure that out and credit Andrei Nicolau, and so his name Andrei is appearing here, and the script sorts it based on the first name too, and it adds a counter. So it's working pretty convenient, so I don't have to do all that manually. I just need to make sure that we do the commit messages correctly so that names will be detected by the script. And then they end up here, and in the end, when I do the release, I make sure that these names get added to the, well, I can show you. I can also make sure I can run this script instead. Bam. It makes the list a full list that is suitable to get added or directly to this file, which is the docs thanks file. And that's because the docs thanks file is the complete list of users whoever helped in the car project. So that's just a long list of 1829 names. So that is how we keep track of the people helping out. Okay, I've updated curl all the release notes so it's synced with current Git, and then I just push that. I don't push it, I commit it, and I just call it synced, and then I like this, because then I can just check the Git later on and see that it's for this commit that I synced it, so everything after this commit is not in the release notes yet. So I can go back and do this like in a week or so, a little depending on if we have a lot of activity, I can do it more often, and if it's less activity, I can wait a longer time. And when I've done this, let me show you. When I commit this, boom. So this goes to the master branch in Git then, so I can just, if we just check the code here, we can see that my release notes is the last commit, latest release notes, my minor cleanup, that feature I merged. And if we go to this page here, totally blown up, and I'm going to reload. So okay, this is still showing the old page. That's a fun command line. That's all commits is the latest sync. Oh, okay, right. So I can use that immediately. That's a cool shortcut. Okay, so the web page updates automatically typically. So I can trigger the update manually. So because it updates the website, it's an old fancy static site generator, and no, it's not fancy, but I made it myself a long time ago. So it's not fancy, but it's mostly static pages, so it updates every 20 minutes. So now when I commit the things, it could take 20 minutes until it updates, and after it updates, all the website is served via Fastly. So the Fastly servers also cache content for a while. So when things update, first my server needs to notice and update and refresh everything, and then the front ends needs to discover that and update their caches. So it'll take a while until the update goes through and until we can actually see the update on the site. So if I refresh now, it's still the old thing. I can manually nuke this URL from the Fastly front ends if I wanted to make it happen faster, but it's not that important. Anyway, this URL, curl-hack/c/dev/release notes, it will, and if you go to the curl site, you can go to the development menu choice and look at the to the release notes option, and if you click that, you'll see, and now it has refreshed. And this is just the pending release notes for the next release. Then the next release is due to be shipped on February 6. Since we set out our dates a long time ahead, we know that unless something other drastic major happens, then we release. And so here are the pending release notes, straight from the release notes converted to the website by some magic scripts. And here are the links to the GitHub issues. Click them, read them, and rather not comment on them. If you have issues with the current Git master, file a new issue. Well, sometimes you can actually comment in the old and we can reopen it, but usually it's better if you create a new issue. Yeah, this is sort of a public education chance too, so I can show you my favorite things on the website and links, since I've put in a lot of effort to actually make these conversions happen. So you better take a moment now and enjoy the fruits of my labor. No, but anyway, you can at least be aware that this information actually exists. What's more to show? Where was I? I was merging. I was getting Git advice on the curl channel, and those are good advice. It's good to have a Git person around to point out my inefficient use of Git sometimes. So yeah, I was going through pull requests. Where are we on pull requests? Where are we on my pull request? It's now been a while since I pushed it. Well, a lot of the Windows builds are fine now, at least. Where are the Travis? Is that the one? That is the one. Yeah, so that looks good. So 45 minutes per build. A lot of, and for your entertainment, I'll click one of those and I'll just show you what it looks like, so we can see that. Refresh. So it runs configure, it runs make, it runs make test. Basically, it actually runs test without the flaky ones. and boom, and then it runs all the tests and make sure that they actually succeed. And I think most of the tests are run with Valgrind present, which is also a reason why they're so slow. And so it runs through, and it did all 1037 tests okay. And the number of tests will vary depending on platform and features built and so on. And of course, a lot of these tests have a lot of sub-tests in themselves, so the number is actually rather, it doesn't really mean anything as a number. It's just says that these are test cases in our test directory, and 1037 of them ran. And we apparently have 1227, so quite a few, 190 were skipped due to these restraints. Oh right, this build didn't have Brotley, and it didn't have WinSSL, and some other reasons. So that's just one of the builds, and it does the same thing then for a lot of. Basically, these are different build option combinations that we consider valuable to verify. Different SSH library. Try a build with HTTP support completely disabled, while also SMTP and IMAP disabled. With a different name resolver backend, the async one with CA-res instead of the threaded one. A build with disabled verbose messages, which is just to make sure that it still builds and doesn't complain. With Brotley compression, using boring SSL. I think the default one here is using OpenSSL. So boring SSL, we have a lot of different SSL backend tests. Wolf SSL, Mesalink, which is another SSL library. We have embed SSL, embed TLS. We have one build with the disabled threaded resolver, just the old sync resolver. With NSS, using icon support, which basically is a test to see if we support network conversion properly, which we don't really on any of the sort of standard platforms, but we do for some of the, especially the EBCDIC platforms. When they're non-ASCII, we need runtime conversion of data, and this build makes sure that the mechanism is there still and builds and works. But well, it's an attempt to verify different SSA backend, blah blah blah, and then we run them on Apple too. So we run a different set of these on Mac as well to make sure that we don't break anything on Mac. And right, on Mac we can run with OpenSSL, and we can run with LibreSSL, and we can run with Darwin SSL. Darwin SSL being our name for the Secure Transport Mac native SSL library. Yeah, bunch of builds. Usually, when there's when 9 of them are fine, most of things are fine. Since I fiddled with one of the core protocols, FTP and everything, so these all test FTP. So now we're just testing the same things over and over. I don't imagine that any of these will fail now. So I'll just let it run through and make sure. Yes, we know about Area 2. Area 2 is written by Tatsuhiro. Tatsuhiro is our hero for writing NGHP2 and NGTCP2. Runtime related, right now I don't have any really good crash to debug. So if you have a good crash, curl crash, runtime crash, I would be happy to grab it. Build the 1259 Pi curl. What is that? What about build 1520 1259 Pi curl? Is that an Oh, it was red on the Travis page. Oh, right. Haha. Okay. Yeah, but then you're looking at okay. Someone pointed out the red one, the PyCurl build on Travis. Let me just zoom out a little bit more. These builds on the left column, these are my repositories. They're actually repositories that I have access to. So you can see a bunch of different projects here. You could actually, if I wasn't careful, I could actually show you something that I shouldn't show you, but they are all open source projects that I have access to that run Travis for me. So PyCurl, well, not for me then. So I'm a member of the PyCurl project on GitHub and on Travis apparently. So I'm just so I can see the PyCurl build failure here. I don't know about it. I don't know anything about PyCurl really, other than it is a Python binding for libcurl. So I've advised them at some point or had some feedback or comments over the years, but I can't really speak for their Travis failure. Can you show us the Google bug tracker again? I can show you the OSS fuzz. I can, if we go to the, let me try this. This is a bug. This is OSS fuzz pointing out a bug in curl null dereference f read when doing RTSP. And I think find projects. I think we can do it like this. If we go here, hello. No, wasn't it like that? No, I think I can. I want to find open issues. All right, that's an open issue in another project identifying. I think it mentions curl somewhere. I want to find all issues for curl. Projects, but here I want to see only for show only curl. So okay, here are OSS fuzz bugs for curl, and you can see some of them are marked bug security, most of them are not, and 56 of them. And the latest one in September, direct leak. And let me click this one. Let me see. Yeah, so this is the latest one. So I can click on this one. So it is an interesting one because it shows. Has a well, mostly I do like this. When I want to reproduce this, I go to this reproducer test case, and this is just. This link is a binary blob, which is small, typically just a few hundred bytes, or 50 bytes, sometimes 20 bytes. And then I use that and run, I build the curl fuzzer. It says here, curl fuzz target binary, curl fuzzer. So I go to the curl fuzzer directory, which I actually usually then have already cloned. I go to the curl fuzzer. I make sure that I can rebuild. I have a script for it, and it rebuilds the curl fuzzer targets. Why did it say that? Because I have some weird patch in this repository, possibly. Oh, anyway, ignore the warnings for now then. Couldn't ignore the warnings, but okay. I have something is fun in my environment here, but anyway, I was just wanted to show you. Then I can run curl fuzzer, and I typically run then curl fuzzer on one of these test cases. I can download this and show you. Click download, and it's slow. I wonder if it removes them. I have a funny script that says this Google Monitor 0 to main. That's why it says this all the time. I should just switch it off. I'm just trying out the... I'll do that later. We can just ignore that for now. Okay, it doesn't seem to want to download it. But anyway, if I download it, it typically I get a file and it says curl. Let me see if I have some. Sometimes I am just a bit scared that I'll show you something that I shouldn't show you. Oh, some old crap downloads. Let's remove that. Anyway, then I would just run curl fuzzer, and I would just, here would be the file name for the downloaded reproducible example, and it was ran bam, and it would say the same thing basically as it does in this bug report, and then I would go back and I would do gdb args, and I would do the same thing and set up, and then I would read because I never remember how to do this properly, I would read the reproducing document here in the fuzzing repository, and here it says how to do it, and this is Max who wrote it. Oh, there it is. Now it popped up. This took forever, and we save it, and then it saved it in my download directory. And if we sort by time and we just get the first one, we get the second one, there it is, cluster fuzz, and then I can curl fuzzer, and that file as input. Pip. Not as fun right now then, because that's an old bug, so we already fixed it. That's 125 bytes of junk, a hex dump. Yeah, so it's not quite junk, but you can see in here that you can realize what it's doing, but it's HP headers, something, blah blah. What you're seeing, the OS I'm running here, this is Debian Linux. Buster Sid it says, but I'm using Debian Unstable, so this is fairly frequently updated Debian Unstable. I prefer Debian, so I use Debian basically everywhere. And this is Plasma KDE desktop that you're seeing. And this is a Firefox browser, of course, but right now I'm also, this setup that you're seeing is basically one of my screens, and I've set it up a little bit to I mean, for this video thing. Of course, it might not look exactly like this when I program without showing the entire world what I'm doing. But it works fine. So that's the fuzzing bugs. And all of these fuzzer bugs are old enough to be public now, so you can go there and view them if you want to. We can check out one of the security ones maybe. Let me see. We had a lot of problems with the fn_match function, but that's a boring function, so I'd rather not look at that. But we can look at the what do we have? I can go back to the, this is the repository for the website, the Git repository website, and in the documentation directory we have all the CVEs ever done for curl. Yep, like 80, I think that's wrong. I might have some leftover files too. I think it's 84. All right, these last three ones are not genuine ones. They're just my templates. Okay, so if we grep for OSS fuzz in those in the markdown files, we see that we have 6 of them giving credit to OSS fuzz, so we can check out this one. Buffer overread FTP wildcard out of bounds, and that is one of those FN match things. Maybe oh right, they all have the same modification file date, but okay, let's look at this then. RTSP bad headers buffer overread. I don't know what to do about it, but we can copy that link and we can paste it here. No, sorry, that was the wrong link. I didn't want to. I actually wanted to have that link. But this one actually doesn't refer back to the proper OSS fuzz. I think it's this. And since RTSP and HTTP is so similar, it uses the HTTP buzzer. But then it so it basically recommended security severity high. So we can see here that it reported the same thing: heap buffer overflow write 1 byte in this add byter function, blah blah blah, and here are we discussing it before it went public then, and then we there, and then it was opened in May. Qt was not originally a Swedish product. Qt was a Norwegian product, right? Trolltech was from Norway. The thing here in top that warns me about it's actually this extension called googledetector.org. I actually just installed it yesterday or the other day just because I wanted to play around with it. It's a bit annoying since it brings back that top thing all the time on those sites that actually uses Google services, which are, if you look at this, 35 of the pages I visit have Google tracking on them somewhere. So I get that all the time, which is highly annoying. So I'm going to stop running it, but still, it's there right now, and that's why I get that all the time at the top. Okay, 14 of the Travis builds. So now we're closing in. It'll take a while longer, and the other ones. I mean, the AppVeyor one. The AppVeyor has been really sleeping the last few days. So, and now I'll show you one of our downsides with the AppVeyor builds. AppVeyor, we use AppVeyor for. It's a bit worrying that it found problems with FTP since I modified FTP. But okay, I was going to say that we use AppVeyor for the Windows build. So and the Windows. Okay, if you saw the OSS fuzz rules, they don't have 90 days embargo. They have 30 days embargo. So yeah, they publish things and say we'll release this within 30 days to the public. But I've actually not had a problem with that yet, which I guess I might at some point. We typically do our releases with 56 days interval, right? 8 weeks, 56 days. So if things go on like our merry normal daily lives, we do releases every 56 days. And if Google would report one of those early on in our in our cycle and our release cycle, I guess that would be an issue, and I would actually be quite upset if we would have to release earlier just because of their time limit there, because it's really strict. But that haven't been an issue yet, and I guess I'll deal with it if it ever happens. We tend to release our security fixes as soon as possible after we get it, so we really make an effort to make sure that we fix the security problems in the next release. So usually we get a report, we work on the fixes, and we make sure that we ship the fix in the next release, and it has those OSS fuzz problems has not been a problem for us so far. So this app failure problem we have a bit of a problem with AppVay ones, since the test cases they trigger false positives a little bit too often, so they end up like this. And 883 out of 883 out of 884 reported okay, 1 failed. Usually this is an indication that if only 1 failed like this and in that manner, it's a false positive. And in this case I'm fairly certain, because the Windows builds are almost identical. So if 5 of them are fine, 1 fail, that's an indication that this one is not working correctly. And for AppVay, I can't restart that single build yet until the other ones. When the other ones complete, there will appear a button here that says rerun the incomplete ones, and then I can rerun the ones that failed, and then they might work then the second time around. They usually work the second time around. So yeah, the AppVay build and the Travis builds, they are the ones, these two ones, they are the ones that are the huge and slow ones. These build bots are run by Mark, that's the guy in the little tiny image, back2k. So sometimes his builds have a little problem too, but they appear as different builds, and they're usually fairly fast. When I say we, I mean are we fixing security issues? We, that's me trying to not say I all the time, but fixing security issues. We have a security team in the curl project, so I'm not alone in the curl security team, so I can usually bounce off ideas and work sort of on security assessments with more than just me. But practically speaking, I believe, as I said, we have had 84. This is a fun page. This shows, well, I can also this link to curl security problems through the years. So this shows them all. This is number 84, the last one we had, or the latest, October 31. We did 3 fixes back then in 761. No, we fixed it in 762. So yeah, but I believe these are 84 ones through the history of the curl project. Well, most of them are actually modern, but still. I think I've written the fix. I think I've patched them all. I think I've written fixes for them all. And actually I think I've written the security advisory for all of them as well. So even if we might be some more than me, it's usually me and some others to various extent. I like the vulnerability table because I've done it. No, and it shows these red bars, then shows which versions that are affected by that particular flaw in the top. So we can, this like a weird waterfall. And you can see that the short bars are actually, I would say, the good ones then, because then we introduced them and they were fixed rather soon afterwards. And the long bars are bugs that then have been around for a very, very, very long time. Like if when they were added here in 6.0 and they were around up here, you know, that they were around like 17 or almost 20 years until we found them. Yeah, so 84 security bugs so far, and I'm pretty sure that we will continue to get more as more and more people are doing more and more in-depth poking on our internals, mostly doing fuzzing, other sorts of fuzzing or other fuzzing entries than we are using with OSS fuzz. So it's good stuff. Unfortunately, our bounty program stopped recently, so now we're not having any bounty program really, but I'm working on getting something else back up for that. Okay, back to pull requests. Pull. Maybe I should comment on some. I tend to also sort of go over bugs. If I get all those needs in for update and take the one least recently updated, I have this one, least recently. It has a green check mark, but yeah, it's a bit complicated at times to keep track of them all. Fix zlib library link error. So I added the tag in November 5, and that is 6 weeks ago or so. Oh yeah, this is the ongoing zlibwin API. We also had that on the mailing list, I think, per discussion. What? Oh. Okay, just linked back to. I'm just going to close it. Now we're getting into the weeds. The MSKKDCP using Kerberos SPNIGO over TLS encrypted channels without the good old perimeter. I actually have no idea about that. So I'm not sure. I don't have any comments about it because that's not things I know much about. I would say that usually Kerberos and stuff is not my general area of expertise, so when it comes to Kerberos and Kerberos related things, I rely on others to tell me how things are and what we should do and should not do. That's also sometimes why we have some of these negotiate bugs and negotiate pull requests lingering, because I'm not into that much. You can also see that we have a bunch of these ones. Help wanted. If we go to help wanted, we can see that I have now 13 open bugs marked help wanted. Those are bugs that I think we pretty much acknowledge that they are bugs, but we don't have anyone particularly working on the bug right now, and maybe not suitable to work on the bug, or maybe not knowing how to fix the bug or whatever. You can see that there are some Mac related ones, there are NTLM related ones, there are CMake related ones, Kerberos, authentication. Yeah, some of them are really weird. Yep, I have this bug. Maybe I'll just dive into this. I haven't really figured this out, so let's do it live then. This is about name resolving and quitting the transfer while the name resolving isn't done yet. And this is using CARES for name resolving, which is asynchronous, but it can cancel them, so it should be able to just cancel them and go back at once. Changing the multi-done call of resolver await resolve to call resolver cancel. Yeah, better. I remember I did that fix to handle when we do the threaded resolver, we can leak memory if we just go return back and forget about the resolving before the resolvers are done. But that's not exactly the same case for CARES. In the CARES case, we can close and clean up everything on demand whenever we want to. Wait, resolver, wait, resolve. Where is that? Resolver. There it is. Still waiting for the resolve to complete. Right, we can fix this for CARES. Let's just see where else this is used. In some other weird cases. Alright, retrying a dead connection, then it needs to do it. Then does it blocking here. that's not a problem for us. So let's go to that one, and we go to perhaps curl resolver cancel should take a flag that says whether it must not return until all resources are freed. The series resolver could then simply ignore the flag since it has nothing. Oh, I think okay, so he thinks maybe we should call that one instead and have a flag that says incon free. Sorry. Possible leftovers from the async name resolvers. Yeah, destroying things. Yeah, since we have this bug 2975, that's different. That's the threaded resolver. But okay, I think he has a point. We could wait resolver wait. We could actually have a resolver wait. We could actually have a new function called basically die. And the CARES one could just kill everything, and while the threaded one will have to wait. Curl resolver. I wonder if I have curl. Maybe I should. Global init, resolver cleanup. The CARES backend shouldn't wait for completion for resolves it doesn't care about anymore, and it doesn't have to do it. Would you like to work on a fix for this? And here's this is really a to-do item. They're suggesting it that we would set an attribute to the file when the command line tool downloads a file, and then remove it again when the file has completed the transfer. That's a strange Windows attribute that I didn't know anything about until I read this. So maybe just add it as a (1811). Set attribute archive for completed downloads. Basically, I add stuff to the to-do file when I think it's a good idea. I don't want to work on it myself, and nobody else seems to be doing it. And then I close the issue in the GitHub issue tracker, because it's not a bug. It's a feature request and might take a while until someone does anything on it. So it's better to not linger around in GitHub. Let's see. And the description then would say maybe the archive bit tells files that shall be backed up separates files that shall be backed up from those that are either not ready or have not changed. Download in progress are neither should be opened by different, only offer download its sensibility. Okay. Fine. So then I do to-do commit, and I'm closing the issue that requested it. So bam. And then it'll close automatically there in a second. Bam. And again, then I'll just trigger a rebuild of the site automatically instead of waiting for it. And going to the site, I can check the to-do. As you can see, I go to the curl web stuff quite a lot, so I have shortcuts for them, or well, I find them very fast. And we can see that it appeared here. Bam. Windows set attribute archive for complete downloads, with a link to the GitHub issue if you want to read more and do something about it. The to-do file has a lot of things that we can do. or that anyone can do. Just grab an issue and work on it. But if you do, it is good to communicate early, but because some of these to-do things might not actually be things we want anymore. And look, that's a comment from Johannes just now about that. I sometimes mark the issues with this to-do label. Or known bugs material. I have some of these bugs that just linger around forever. I mark them as known bug materials because nobody's working on them. I don't know really what to do about them, but they're bugs, so I don't want to just get rid of them, so I'd add them to the known bugs file, and well, I get rid of them sort of, and then they linger around there forever, but still they're at least there at somehow. Yeah, and I can actually type and talk at the same time, especially because there's a slight lag, right? You don't see me or hear me exactly real time. There's actually several seconds of lag, so when I write something, you can probably see me write sooner on IRC than you can hear me or see me on the video. And here's the test. Let me okay, are you ready? I say test exactly when I press return here. Test. So which of the known bugs materials least recently updated? HTTP post with negotiate. Yeah, this is when you can see by the number 1261. This file February 2017, approaching 2 years. That's I think this is one of the problems. Negotiate is a complicated authentication mechanism, and negotiate, apparently from what I gather, can do sort of NTLM like, or even if it's exactly NTLM as part of it. And NTLM is connection based, or it authenticates connections. So sometimes, or often, or all the time, I don't exactly know, when you use negotiate, the authentication is done connection based. So then it should rather act more like NTLM and close the connection, or not close the connection, according as in the same style as NTLM. But we don't have a good way to test negotiate. I don't have a good way to test negotiate, so it's really hard for me to change this. It really needs someone who actually has a use case, can reproduce a problem, and can verify fix to suggest something to do here. So therefore the negotiate ones tend to just linger around for a while more. And some other ones too, as you can see. Cannot compile against a static build of OpenLDAP, and maybe I should fix this at some point, but yeah, static builds are problematic in general to build against, so we don't, our configure script, for example, isn't very good at building with static dependencies. Static dependencies are such a drag to try to support, since you don't, it's hard to know which other third-party libraries each third-party dependency needs when they're static. So how is that? Yeah, right. And now I can rerun incomplete on the one, since I think that one is a false positive. So I rerun that one. Boom. Now it's queued. AppWeigher can take a long time. And as here you can see the times for AppWeigher is slightly shorter than the Travis ones. And I think it's partly because AppWeigher runs fewer tests. So in these cases, like 23 minutes, they only run 880, while the biggest Travis ones run over 1,000 tests. And the slowest ones on Travis run with the Valgrind enabled, and Valgrind is not a speed monster, really. It helps us fix things, but it's not making things run fast. Okay. And some of the other recent ones, these libcurl hangs HTTP request when closing the server, it says. I really tried to reproduce it and I failed. I can't understand how he gets what he gets. So, and he hasn't, I say, I don't know if it's a he, but now I can't, right. Now, this due to the freezing of the connection in the closed state at the end of the server. The freezed state, I guess that's the TCP state, the waiting period. And I don't think the lag in the video from Twitch is because of bandwidth, and it's probably not because of CPU either. It might, I mean, I don't know, maybe the Linux client might be laggier than other clients perhaps, but I have a pretty good bandwidth, pretty good latency to the world, and I have pretty good CPU too, so I think this lag is just what I need to accept. And by the way, I've been live streaming this now for 2 hours and 38 minutes. And yes, it feels weird to just sit here and talk to myself all the time. Even if it's not for myself, but anyway. Okay, he can't reproduce it 4 days ago. Most likely this is, okay. Okay. Okay, if you manage to figure out how to reproduce or otherwise or have further clues about this, feel free. Then we can reopen again or just create a new issue. Closing for now. Thank you. Bugs that nobody can reproduce, and we don't understand. We don't need to keep them around. And this curl info read returns the same easy handle twice in succession. 7 days ago, nobody can reproduce. Well, they can reproduce it, but not with libcurl code. They're using Python somehow. this program uses Tornado, which uses PyCurl. I don't have anything against using Python or PyCurl, but this feels like they have layers and layers on top of libcurl that causes this problem. So when this happens, I just want them to reduce some layers of complexity and try to reproduce it with libcurl only, so that we can actually reproduce it. I mean, I don't even know. I never used Tornado. I don't know it. I'm not a Python guy, so running Tornado to reproduce something to get a problem somewhere in some Python somewhere using on PyCurl that might be libcurl. Now that's a chase I rather avoid. So what I did, I actually spent some time and wrote up an example I called 3324.c, which I tried to follow the description, and I made my example in pure C, tried to do the exact same logic. I couldn't reproduce. I posted the code to them and said, this is what I did. I can't reproduce. Can you? And no, they can't either. So I'm leaning towards this being not a libcurl bug. I think it's a bug in maybe not in PyCurl either, because PyCurl is a really thin layer on top of libcurl. I don't think they could introduce a bug like this. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't really checked out PyCurl in a long time. Or a bug in some layer above, just getting confused and suspecting libcurl instead. Anyway, since I can't reproduce, they can't reproduce with this example code, and they haven't really made me improve. I was hoping maybe like they could point out some issues or take this example and modify it to become one that can reproduce the problem, and then I could debug it. But it hasn't happened. So I will just leave it for now. It's just a week ago. It could sit around for a few more weeks. That's fine. Here's a Windows bug submitted by Jay, but Jay is a frequent contributor, and I know he's on this. I think he even submitted a pull request for it that he closed. No, that's not the one. He referred to this from another one. All right, but I think he is still very much on top of that, and he's able to do a pull request, and he's on Windows. He knows that stuff, and he's a suitable person to take that on. And here's a Windows bug too that I know there's been a lot of comments on, and I think not a lot of comments, but oh right, yeah, because this is the bug report, and then there's a pull request to actually fix it, and that has some comments. Let's see those. There are basically a bunch of questions on the, well, someone is expressing concerns how it works and if it's a suitable method to use this query performance counter thing. And I asked some users here 7 days ago, and nobody commented yet, so I'm just going to give them some more time before I don't know what. Maybe if nobody else is saying anything, I might merge it and see how it fares, and we'll see. Back to CMake. It's not my area of expertise. I don't remember what this was. I did this. I expected the following. Could not find OpenSSL. Okay, but I don't get it. Let's ask. This is an ongoing bug, and then there's a pull request for it too. There's a discussion on the mailing list as well. NTLM version 2. Apparently we had some glitches in our support for that, and NTLM is a tricky protocol. So hopefully that will go somewhere. Here's another issue that has a pull request that hasn't gone anywhere. The pull request is made by J. There it is. Oh, right. And the pull request caused build problems with Ming W. Oh, he seems to have fixed that. Here's a Travis build problem. I wonder if actually the most annoying part with the Travis builds are the false positives, and this is one of those, I think. Check your system clock. Thank you. Restart job. I checked my system clock. So I think that one can go green, and then we can merge that one. I think. Oh, it's a big one. Oh, right, but it moved things, that's why. Well, primarily why. 252 new, 210 removed, so yeah. All right. Yeah, the lag from me doing something until it actually shows on the video, I believe, is around, well, 5 seconds. 4, I think it might vary over time. So, okay, I will do like this. I'm going to stop streaming for a while. I'm going to go and have a lunch. In my office, which is in my home, there's a bit of a shortage of good lunch, but I'm going to raid my fridge and see what I can do. So if you have anything, any suggestion, if you have any bug, any quirk, any issue, anything, let me know. I might do something more this afternoon. Otherwise, I will stream something next week or so, or another time at least. Now I'm going to go and have something to eat. See you around. Bye.